What is going on, guys? Welcome to Paradigm Shift. I'm your host, Josh Haave. Today, I am really excited. We got Adam Stark here from Jet.Build, and I believe he's joining us. Where are you joining us from, Adam?
St. Louis today. That's the
St.
spot.
Louis today. Cool. I think last time we spoke, you're based out of New York, though, right?
I split time, New York and St. Louis. So
Cool.
you're right to ask and bring that up. Yeah.
Cool. So Adam wears a bunch of hats. He's a co-founder of Jet.Build, author, special forces veteran, uh, endurance athlete, all kinds of things. But Adam, why don't you give us a little bit of background on you and how you kind of what you're working on now? So
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on the show, man. Appreciate that. Excited to
yeah.
be here. Excited to chat. My day-to-day focus now is, like you mentioned, Jet.Build, which is my company. Really focused on changing dynamic in the real estate development and construction space. Looking to create better efficiency, better management over projects. Hopefully that will trickle down. Ideally, that trickles down to a conduit, right? Our product is a conduit to housing, right? Having more housing built, housing efficiency, ability to build more housing. So that's kind of my day-to-day focus.
Cool.
That aside, as you brought up, the wellness piece, the fitness, et cetera piece, always focus on that every morning. Give myself about anywhere between an hour and a half of just focus wellness between breath work, mobility, flexibility, and then a training session, whatever that might be for the day.
Nice. Yeah, I think you're a yoga instructor and like meditation, breath work instructor as well, right?
Yeah. So yeah, how that came about actually, thankfully an awesome takeaway from that COVID period when I was in New York City, and I mean, truly that whole city shut down. So whoever was, living there at the time, I
I
mean,
was
you
there,
had
yeah.
to, okay. Yeah. You had to just figure something out to do. Right. So,
Yeah.
how that ended up happening was, I've been over the years just dealing with, I mean, really, frankly, just typical military injuries, back stuff, foot stuff, and then everything in between because of those injury points. And I tried all of the PT, all of the different typical, I'll call it Western approaches. And I got really fed up with just years of not finding a solution to what was, I mean, honestly, just really, really painful and really uncomfortable every single day. And that's when I finally said, all right, this yoga area is something that I'm very, not knowledgeable. I'm very ignorant in, because I've never given myself the patience or the, I guess, desire, right, to dive in. And it's really funny about that now, going to hindsight, and I'll close that gap in a minute. Which is, um, what I always tell people about yoga is really my own experience and friction point that I see in others. Whereas it's not linear like a lot of other things, right? You do 5 push-ups every day for a week, you should be able to expect to do 10 push-ups, or whatever linear path that suits you. Running, you expect to run a mile every day for a week. Day 8, you should expect to be able to run, mile and a half, 2 miles.
Yeah.
With yoga, it doesn't work that way. So entering it feels very frustrating. Going through that process feels very frustrating, until you finally hit that inflection point. Again, there's no linearity to that. So it just hits whenever it hits for you. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, now things are starting to make sense. Now I'm understanding what openness means, and what mobility in openness means, and what moving better and feeling good means. And that's been a true driver in helping me resolve my pains, my injuries. Granted, they're obviously, of course, still there, but I'm able to mitigate, the pains, and just day to day being able to move better. So because of finally recognizing that, I said, you know what, screw it. Such as the person that I am, I'm going to just go all in. And I just went ahead and did the, how the 500-hour trainer certificate works is you do a 200-hour, then a 300-hour, or vice versa. So they're actually 2 different courses that you combine together, thus becoming a 500-hour instructor. So that was my journey in that front.
Wow. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I mean, I do yoga, not on a regular basis, but it's so frustrating, and it's you have to have so much patience, and you see these big burly athletes, right? Like guys, CrossFitters or whatever, going there and just they're like, I should be able to do this. It it's
You know what I
it's a lesson in humility. So
that's exactly what I was about to say. It's the most humbling thing every single day that you can do.
mm,
I mean,
yeah,
you'll just be in a pose and then you realize you can't move your leg a centimeter, and you're like, wow.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
no matter how much I brute force this, it's not going to go. So it's a really
yeah,
humbling experience.
yeah, yeah. I think that's why I connected with you. I was like, this is, I like what this guy's talking about. He's, evolving the construction industry with tech.
Mhm.
And we'll get to that in a little bit because I know you had a couple hot takes recently on on
Yeah.
LinkedIn. But yeah, I mean, just the wellness piece is kind of my focus.
Hmm.
I'm a construction consultant, but I'm also a coach, and
Yeah.
mindset is really my focus. And getting out of your comfort zone, like whether it's
Mhm.
yoga or being the healthiest version of yourself, right? So that
Mhm.
you can attack whatever it is your real estate, construction, any industry. Um, but I think you also mentioned, we were talking a little bit before the call here. You're a runner as well. I like. I just signed up. I
Yeah.
don't think I told you. I just signed up for an ultra in
Nice.
September, and
Nice, man.
and I am not a runner. I'm getting out of my comfort zone, so I may have to pick your brain as a seasoned runner
Yeah.
from you. So
Yeah, what's funny about running and stretching limits is that I think there are a lot of like psychological takeaways that you can really grow from it. At the same time,
mm,
it's not the healthiest thing on the physical side of things, right? So
mm,
it's I'm owning up to being counter or well, sorry, or like contradictory to myself, right? In the sense of, yeah, my daily routine is about what it's about is increasing the longevity of quality of life, right? So that's what my daily routine is really about, and my focus is
mm,
about. At the same time, I'll do these like crazy stints that you're pulling up, for example,
yeah,
like an ultra, right? And I'll be like, yeah, that's awesome, man, go for it. But it's not really great for you on the physical side, right? That's a lot of
yeah,
pain and injury inducing things.
yeah,
Nonetheless, the biggest recommendation I guess like the most important recommendation I could have is your mental state, right? So, I mean, you could train as much as you want, as much as relevant, as much as this. If your mind wants to quit, you're going to quit. If your mind
mm,
wants to keep going, you're going to keep going. So,
yeah,
one way to counter that or ready for that is to really have like this inherent true to yourself purpose of why. So if you recognize that up front and you really drill down on that and really truly believe that, then that's how you finish. That's my take
yeah,
on these kinds of endeavors.
yeah. No, I hear you. I don't intend on becoming a full time marathoner, ultra marathoner, but I like to do one big goal a year, and this
Yeah,
was
that's cool.
I look at it more as a mental challenge
Hmm.
than physical,
It is.
and a little bit of a spiritual
Yeah.
challenge,
Yeah.
So, um, but yeah, that's so cool. So, let's talk about JetBuild a little bit.
Hmm.
How did this come about? You went to NYU, right? And
Yeah.
have you always been in the construction industry, or?
Yeah. So actually, before NYU, I did my undergrad at Northeastern, so in Boston. When I
Mhm.
finished that, studied business. Finished that, I moved to New York City, where just the opportunity came up just through network through people. I got introduced to a builder owner operator in New York City, and they had an open role for entry level PM project manager. So like, yeah, why not? Let's see what that's about.
Mm.
Building tangible things always interested me. Design always interested me. So like kind of the just perspective, not knowing the industry was like a good, interesting area to
Mhm.
start my career in. And it took about 2 weeks to realize that, trying to manage project stakeholders, so dozens of different companies and teams and people, trying to manage hundreds of $1 million of development and construction does not work on siloed Excel files and email chains and phone calls and whatnot. You need a platform to really manage action items across these different companies, to manage the more technical things like RFIs and submittals and drawings and meeting minutes and budgets, et cetera. So all like industry specific operations functions that is not in every party's individual siloed computer, environment or phone environment. And that's the inception of Jet. Is my co-founder, who longtime friend and kind of like a copy and paste of me. It's really funny. Same kind of journey. So we just met up one day early on in our careers, and we're like, all right, well, how none of this is making sense, right? How are we gonna fix this problem? So
Yeah.
before we started to build Jet ourselves for our own projects, we tried to understand what existed in the market, came across your typical legacy, like any industry, super clunky, very, very expensive. And then just why use that, right? We're in a modern era. We could build technology. We could use modern tech. So
are you talking like a Procore system, things like that, or?
Correct. I didn't want to, I didn't want to name names, but you did,
I did.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Exactly like that. I mean, these other companies are trying to take a piece of the pie, as you call it, right? They're charging percentages of your project value, which make no sense. That pricing model. So we kind of took the existing, first to market players, like these public companies, and said, all right, well, how do we just create this model better for us? So that's what we did. We understood, platforms that existed. We understood their business structure, and we kind of just went right at it in terms of how do we remove these frictions, right? So we built our product on a modern tech stack. So it's very intuitive, very simple to use. We're doing flat rate licensing, so no percentage of value. Everything's inclusive, so there's no like hidden anything, right? You get the full product, you get unlimited users. So we're just trying to make it easy on people to adopt technology and to become more efficient in their process. So that was really inception. I mean, we're building it out over a few years. That started back in 2017. Working on it for ourselves.
Cool. What is what's kind of like the market you're focused, like your clients? Is it for everyone from like a large developer to a residential home builder, or what's kind of the focus of your product?
Yeah, so so first of all, commercial grade in the sense that, if you have like a bathroom that you're remodeling in your home, like you can use Excel for that, right? I mean, you don't need a product for that kind of a thing. Jet starts becoming relevant from ground up construction or at scale. So what I mean by that is we have clients that are doing ground up homes. We have clients that are doing industrial, clients that are doing, high rise mixed use properties, and everything in between. What I mean by that is, for example, asset management firms that have, entire buildings and they're flipping apartments. So at scale, it starts to make sense if you're doing small, fixes per unit, but you're doing a lot of those fixes. So that's when Jet's relevance comes. So that's kind of the spread where our product is relevant for our client profile. Generally speaking, the area that we really like is the developer, first of all, to be the license holder, and I could hash out on that. But then also in that high rise kind of mixed use property type. And the reason is we just find it to be kind of the sweet spot of a lot of coordination is necessary. It's significant in terms of project value. The data for those types of projects is very valuable as well. So that just tends to be that kind of ICP, ideal customer profile for us. But like I said, we're really supporting, serving a lot of different build types.
Gotcha. I know you had a hot take the other day about, people evolving or, evolving technology and construction or being slow to adopt. Like how do you guys overcome that? Or what if someone says, yeah, we're already using a certain program. We don't want to, waste our time learning a new program.
Yeah. So that word right there, right? Or sentence and few words, whatever, like waste time learning a program. So I hear that a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be someone at the company who's not using a platform or a company who is using a platform.
Yeah.
And when I, and the circumstance of is using a platform, then you're really, I mean, if it's a significant company or they're building, I don't know, 20 million plus type of projects, I mean, that's serious savings that they could accomplish with just migrating to our
Mm-hmm.
solution, which is providing the same solution set.
Mm-hmm.
That said, with that learning curve mindset, what's really interesting is it's usually, who I'm talking to, whether that be like a VP or whether that be somebody managing teams, and them being lazy or them perceiving their teams with, inability to adopt another product. And that was my hot take, right? It was to say,
Yeah.
here are your teams that are building, your hospital, building your home, building your office, yet you're telling me that they can't use a system. And, by the way, we have an average of 30-minute onboarding time, right? Because it's just easy to use. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's what everyone's already doing, just centralized. So like,
Wow.
it's really interesting that we have this kind of mentality ingrained in the industry where we think, oh, that's a lift for the team. They're not going to be able to understand it. They're not tech savvy. They can't get on board. I mean, it's
Sure.
really nonsense, right? I like to make the analogy with like a phone, right? If you're using an Android or an iPhone and it's 3 years old, call it, and I hand you a new one, are you going to not be able to send an email, right? Send a picture, send a text, right? Make a note, make a calendar invite.
Right.
You obviously will be able to. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. The onboarding. I'm gonna have to try this. Do you guys do like a free? I because I'm just thinking about some of these legacy products that I've used in the
Yeah.
past, and it's like, yeah, we're gonna come to your office and do a week long seminar to teach you to learn how to use this product, right? Like,
Right.
um, crazy. So,
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't not laugh at that. Right. So also just to separate, right? We're not talking about like complex modeling or, rocket science, right? We're talking about your core project management solution, right? For your core
mhm,
project management solution, there is no way that you should need a week long onboarding process to understand the platform, right?
mhm,
If that is the case, then either you're very green to the industry, right, and you're just not familiar with process, or you're just using a very clunky, outdated product that's not serving you as a client, as an end user.
hmm. What does it look like? I'm sure it's a lot easier to start from scratch, but someone that's been using one of these like legacy products for a while, like, is there a migration service you guys do? What does that typically look like?
Yeah, so a few things. I'll even go a step back because I didn't like fully address something else you asked that
Yeah, yeah.
reminded me. So yeah, we have a 14-day trial period where you don't have to do any credit card, anything. You just go on, click around, do whatever you want. What we're actually working on also is creating some like demo files that we could just throw onto those trials. So just make it simpler for people to see the
Hmm.
product with data on it. That said, we have a lot of solutions that you could upload information via Excel to simplify just expediting process of getting data on the product on Jet.
Hmm.
That said, we have a dozen at least clients that just signed up, started running with the project. We'd reach out, be like, "Hey, do you need any help? Everything's going okay?" They're like, "Yep, all set." And no interaction, no onboarding, no questions, no setup, anything. People just
Hmm.
understand to run with it. That said, obviously those are people that are more comfortable with technology, and that doesn't mean that has to be the case for everyone. So
Yeah.
what we offer is onboarding, project setup. We'll also onboard and set up external stakeholders to kind of remove that element of friction where a license holder thinks that they have to now go ahead and onboard the entirety of the teams that are involved in the project. No, we can do that for them, set up permission controls according to how our client asks for them. So we really kind of simplify this process of getting started. And then really once you get started, that's, it only gets easier the more you use it, right? You have more
Yeah.
information there, the more you can copy and paste, the more familiar you are with it. So that's kind of just the process, generally speaking.
Cool. Nice. What what's on the horizon this year for JetBuild? You have any anything cooking in the works, and any special
Yeah.
features or?
Definitely. So first of all, we got our product roadmap is always getting populated, getting filled up with client feedback. So we take that real seriously. We implement very quickly, and that's kind of the beauty with modern tech and not dealing with a public company that has to go through chain of command, and just no one's really making any decisions, like any public company really, unless you're really a key client of theirs. Anyway, so we really populate a roadmap based on client feedback, and the goal with that, the intention is to say, all right, how are clients using a product? How do they function as a business? And how do we provide our end users with best practices, consolidated best practices, right? So we're grouping how people build and then pushing out, best practices to our end user. So I think that's a really cool dynamic to highlight. In terms of what we're looking at, future, we're always continuing to develop the mobile app. So that's going to, continue to catch up to the cloud-based product. In terms of the product itself, we just released a WBS module, which is really cool because that was based on client feedback, and we're going to continue adding kind of linking capabilities to that. So it's going to be a really powerful tool real soon. Longer term kind of perspective, more macro, is the more data we compile, the better we'll be able to provide AI insights. So that'll be things like, based on your projects in the past year, 2 years, 3 years, these submittal situations have caused, delays in project. These RFI situations have caused change orders in your project, these schedule items, et cetera. So it's going to be kind of this supportive, predictive analytics to help manage, how you're running your projects. And then just, continuing to add automations. We have a lot of them already right now, which are to reduce a lot of the manual type of effort. So that's kind of the different focuses that we have.
I love it. I mean, so many contractors and, in the past as a consultant are sitting on so much valuable data that they're unable to tap into or learn from, right? As far as like delaying the project and getting some insights early on to help alleviate some of that stuff. So that's cool.
Absolutely.
I like it. Yeah. What else am I forgetting? What else does my audience need to know about JetBuild?
In
Anything
terms
I'm
of
forgetting?
No, I don't think so.
Where can they go? What's the website?
Yeah, so the website is literally Jet.Build, right? So instead of .com, we do .build. So
Okay.
That's the website. We have lots of information there, right? So just again, trying to tackle these like friction points that we see in the industry is a lot of companies. I don't know why like to keep their kind of product and service as this like Fort Knox scenario where you can't see the product and you can't understand pricing, you can't understand anything until you get on, a call or a second call, third call. So we try to be as transparent as possible. We got product videos up on our YouTube where it'll walk you through, what the product looks like itself. We have that on the website as well. We have our general pricing on the website. When I say general, what I mean by that is that's really like your off the shelf product for clients. I want to just take it and run with the project. For anything above that, you just need some very basic information, and we do custom pricing that allows companies to scale with us. So what I mean by that is our competition, the alternative products, will actually ding you for using them more, right? So the more you use their products, the more expensive that solution is per project, essentially. What we're doing is kind of the opposite, which is to say the more you use Jet, the less expensive per project it will be. So we'll try to scale with you and allow you to grow. So those are just the dynamics that, good to know. You could reach out to us directly on the website. We got a chat function there. And that's how you'll find us. Yeah.
Cool. I know we're coming up on our time limit soon, but man, what did I always like to ask people a couple of things. Yeah. I'm always curious, like when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
So I mean, at the age of, it was either 11 or 12. I think it was 11 actually. It was just straight up military for me. So like that was always like a lock in my kind of like vision and my goals. So that was started from an early age. kind of what I brought up before in terms of just liking, tangible things and liking design. So I love Legos. So I think that
Same.
played it nice.
Yeah.
So I think that played into my kind of like desire or interest when that opportunity came up to work for those builders when I started my career.
Yeah.
So that played into it as well. Yeah,
Nice. Yeah, I just bought some Legos the other day.
Legos are
So,
great.
um, what is your least favorite thing about our industry?
Yeah, least favorite is it's probably this dynamic which I'm starting to recognize more now, just coming from the tech perspective of this
Hmm.
like finger pointing, right? So
Hmm.
before, starting Jet as a business, when I was working for builders, it was a little clearer to me because, I was able to manage teams and say, well, I'm hiring you. So this is what this is going to look like, right?
Yeah.
Now in terms of like the desire to own process or desire to own data, it's really interesting where there's like this gap of people just finger pointing. When I mean people, it's like the trifecta between contracting teams, design teams, and developer teams.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me that nobody, or I shouldn't say nobody, that I see this a lot where there isn't like a clear lead, a clear desire to say, I'm going to own this process because I want to get this project done.
Right.
So that's a frustrating element where I'd like to see a party in that dynamic say, yeah, I'm going to lead it, and I believe that should be the developer because it's their property, it's their money, it's
Hmm.
their budget, it's
Hmm.
their asset that they're going to manage. So that's my perspective. Developers should really step forward. They don't have to be micro. They don't have to micromanage. They don't have to be granular. They just step forward and say, this is going to be process. I'm going to oversee it to whatever extent, degree that I want.
Right. Right. I'm thinking about this. Have you seen the Spider-Man meme where they're all
Yeah, exactly.
pointing at each
Yeah,
other? You know.
that's exactly what it is.
But gotcha.
I'm glad
So
that that picture came to mind because
yeah.
that's exactly
Yeah.
the problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so what's your favorite thing about the construction industry? And
I mean, it's what I said before, which is, I'll add to it too. It's that building something tangible. I think that's really
oh,
cool, right? In a lot of industries and businesses, you don't necessarily have this end result that is a literal physical property or infrastructure or whatever it may be.
yeah.
So I think it's really cool that we get to have an end result, which is boom, a house, boom, a hospital, a school, right, a road. So that's really cool.
Love it.
Yeah, I'll stick with that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely my favorite
Yeah.
part, seeing something creative come together and working together as a team, right? On a common goal.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Underrated, I feel.
Yeah. That's why I
Yeah.
love construction so much. So
Yeah.
um do you have a favorite quote or a piece of advice for our listeners?
Yeah. One thing that I heard recently, and it's something I knew, but I kind of forgot, which is, um, if you recognize that there is something you perceive as being a problem or an issue or friction, whatever word you want to use there, then you have that opportunity to go ahead and fix it, right? If you don't fix it, then it's just going to sit there and continue being the issue or problem or friction. So that's what's been on my mind lately. I heard also veterans talk about that on a different podcast, and it's just stuck with me for the past few weeks. Where you see an issue, so address it, do something about it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I know we got to run, but man, I really, it was fun talking, and yeah, I wish we would have connected when I lived in New York. We
Yeah,
could have done some yoga or something together. So,
we'll
or
we'll
go on a
cross paths at
run.
some point. Yeah, we'll cross
Yeah,
paths and we'll do it.
yeah, I'm actually going to be in New York maybe in a couple of weeks. I'll hit you up if you're in town. So
Definitely, let me know, man.
cool, man. Well, I will link Jet in the show notes on later
Awesome.
on. And what else? Where else? Guys, definitely go follow Adam Stark on LinkedIn. Where else are you? Your website. Where else are you at, Adam? Anything else you want to plug?
Yeah, I mean, you named the two key places, right? The Jet website and then LinkedIn, where I'm really active. The third place where I'll plug is started a new show myself. It's
Yeah.
called the Veterans Who Build Show. That's going to release in the potentially coming days. It'll release sometime this month.
Okay.
Just depends on how I piece things together. That's the Veterans Who Build Show. That'll be on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. So check it
Cool.
out.
All right. Yeah, we'll put that in the link too. So
Awesome.
cool, man. Well, I appreciate your time, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Talk soon.
Take care, guys.